ask for someone to be armed.
Well, that's
I
all
know
right.
Jamie has a couple of things.
First, would you like to introduce
Oh, I'm
yourselves,
sorry.
just for the sake
I'm
of...
Tom Harlan. I'm the treasurer of the Governor Day Board.
And I'm Ray Bender, I'm the chairman of the board at Governor Day.
Bruce Klingler, Sheriff of Lebanon County.
Very good, thank you.
So just to set the stage a little bit before these guys make some comments. Back earlier this year, I think it goes back as far as February of
Yeah.
2017, the Board of Trustees at the Clarence Shock Memorial Park at Governor Dick were entertaining a request by the ranger to be armed when in the park. And so there was some and you were provided with some of the paperwork here, but there was some research done into what other counties do in terms of their park. There was some research done into what the county code provides for in this sort of circumstance, and there were some conversations between, I think, the board, Chief Harris, and ultimately Sheriff Klingler about this, since Dave Eichler is the ranger. Since Mr. Eichler is on the payroll at the county on a reimbursement basis, so that the Governor Dick Board reimburses the county, the pay runs through the county's payroll system. That if this were to be done, how would that be done? How would it be achieved? And the sheriff can speak to that a little bit more, but it seems like putting this through the sheriff's office for acquisition and furnishing the weapon would be the right way. So that's just setting the stage. I know you guys had your own discussions as a board and voted on it and so on, and that's just setting the stage.
David is also on our board. He's a board member, as is his father. They originally came out of the Shock Trust. And it started way back in 1998, around the time of the inception of this, when the Shock Group and the county were the co-trustees. And at that time, and Bill Carpenter was actually on our board at that time. And at that time, we authorized Dave to be the park ranger. He's paid a salary. He had a badge and a uniform. And although he didn't have the authority to arrest anybody or anything. But then late last year, early this year, he got concerned about what appears to be the present state of mind of some people. He felt a little nervous going up in the mountain, a lot of times being the only person up there, not armed. These days, you don't know what he didn't know what he was going to be confronted with, if anything. So he asked to be armed and also to have provided to him other more defensive stuff like a vest and some other things. And at that time in February, I sent a letter to, I think it was Dave Warner, the solicitor, and outlining all this and asking for guidance on this.
And I haven't seen Dave's response. I've been requesting that.
I've never seen a response.
I don't think there was.
I was asking for something in writing for our file.
I didn't get it. I don't know if it exists. I did not get a copy, and I don't think Ray,
No,
you've seen
I've
it.
seen it.
Yeah, I talked with him about it yesterday. There isn't a written opinion on it. I mean, essentially, though, under the provisions in the county code, this, in his opinion, this falls under what you're able to do. The section of the county code specific to this provides for county commissioners to equip rangers or staff to the parks with any equipment necessary to enforce the rules, conduct their business, and so on. So that's where. So there is not a written, but that's the conversation I had with Dave yesterday, kind of going back to it from earlier this year.
And he's not a full-time person. He's a teacher over the Donegal School District. He also works part-time for the Fish and Game Commission, in which capacity he's armed and he has defensive gear available to him, power to arrest as far as the Game Commission is concerned, but he doesn't have that authority on the mountain. So, and he had all the certifications necessary to carry a firearm, that kind of thing. And I know he's talked to Bruce about that. So.
Yeah, that would have been my question, that he has completed courses and certification as far as.
Well, commissioners, I've done some research on Mr. Eichler, Mr. Eichler is a certified Act 235, Pennsylvania Act 235 lethal weapons graduate. He also has his firearms designation on this. So he has been put through the training that would be necessary for him to legally carry a firearm. If he is what is known as an agent working for someone. Now in this case, he basically works for the county of Lebanon. And he is certified through Pennsylvania law to carry a firearm. He has passed the physical exam. He has put himself forward and also passed the psychological exam. He qualifies once a year to keep his training so that he is a certified 235 person. He's also a sworn officer with the Fish and Boat Commission. He does his training once a year with the Fish and Boat Commission with a sidearm. He fires a successful course of fire every year for both Act 235 and for the Fish and Boat Commission. In my mind, he is qualified. Liability-wise, for the county of Lebanon, he's qualified to carry a sidearm. When I found out, talking with Tom here and talking with Mr. Eichler, when I found out the situation that he is sometimes put in, it is, in my mind, necessary that the county equip him. He is out there, you all know Governor Dick Park. He's out there in the forested area, in the mountainous area, in what we would consider one of the most secluded areas of Lebanon County. And he's always by himself. He confronts hunters who are armed with both rifles and shotguns in the surrounding game areas there, the Pennsylvania Game Commission areas. I talked to the chief of police out in Cornwall Borough, Bruce Harris. And Bruce says that they try to get someone to him if he needs assistance. But depending on where he's at in the park, with the system of trails in the park, it could be 20 minutes, half an hour, or more. I talked with the Game Commission. How long does it take them to get somebody there? They wouldn't give me a time if he needed help. So he's out there by himself. He confronts, he sometimes has to confront people. That's the mission of the ranger out there. He's on patrol all by himself. Yes, John.
I don't know if, I didn't want to interrupt you if you
No,
were
that's
done.
okay.
I do have a couple of questions I would like to ask. I was reading through minutes and things, and they said that not the entire board was of the same mind. What was the final vote to?
The vote was unanimous with one abstention. Frank Eichler abstaining, being Dave's father. He felt he should not debate or vote on the matter.
And Dave didn't vote either. It was
And of course, Dave didn't vote because it
4-0.
pertained to him.
It was 4-0.
But the
Okay.
other four members, it was unanimous.
So they came around, because initially they were saying just about awarding, for instance, bulletproof vests, non-aggressive kinds of protection.
Well, he's had a vest already. It's due for replacement because they apparently time out after a period of time. But the original concerns were, A, was it legal to do? And that's when Dave went through the whole process of getting the approvals from the state police and getting the additional training. And that, I think, is what satisfied the board members' concerns when we saw that we had gone through all the hoops necessary to qualify him before we would have jumped into it. But the vote was 4-0 with, of course, Dave and his father abstaining.
Okay. And then the next question would be, how many hours a week does he work?
Presently, it's not very many. I would expect that will go up. But in this past year, I don't think he's worked 100 hours.
Okay, I guess my question to get to the bottom line is he, I heard the sheriff say he's a county employee. Is he getting paid by us or
No,
by the board?
all the government employees are county employees. You provide payroll services to us.
Okay.
We
How about-
reimbursed you 100% of all the costs
Okay.
from the park.
Because if we get to benefits, is he on
No,
insurance
they
and
don't
pension?
receive benefits. They're all part-time, so they don't get benefits.
I think he's even casual, I'm not sure
Right,
he's part-time.
Casual, okay.
So no, there's no, or no benefits.
No
Never worked,
benefits,
never worked.
okay. And then, the next question would be, is our liability insurance go up any, with this?
No, we already have, I mean, it would be, you know, his actions would be covered, but we already have armed officers with the sheriff's department and in probation and in the detective bureau, so.
Do we have to provide lists of names or certifications or
I
anything?
never have, no.
So wouldn't have an increase in
No,
cost?
there wouldn't be an impact.
Okay. And then, the next question is, once he's certified, would he be allowed to be called to other parks of the county, whether it be, the rail trail or anything like that?
I would, no one's
Did
really
you- no,
addressed
we-
that, but I don't think so, because those are 911 calls, you know,
we're not
typically.
authorized.
And he will, even after he's armed, he will still, as I understand, Sheriff, not have arrest powers, correct?
That's correct. He has no arrest powers.
Okay.
The idea of the county authorizing.
So the Cornwall Police will still do the arrests?
Yeah.
Right, and that's part of the issue here. If he attempts to detain someone, which is basically all that he's gonna try to do, if he actually tries to detain somebody, and you try to detain somebody out there who's armed, he's putting himself in a bad position.
And then this is the last question I have, because I was thinking about this the last couple of days since I found out it was coming back on the agenda. When I see police, they always go in pairs so that they're not overpowered or distracted and someone tries to take their weapon. Does he have one of those holsters that somebody can't just grab the gun out, or has the thought going into all of that? Can you explain to me where we stand on that?
Right now, with the Efficient Boat Commission, he uses what's known as a level 2 retention holster. He's also, I checked on his training, he passed the retention, what they call the physical retention training, when he did his Act 235. So he's been trained on how to keep his weapon.
Okay. Does he have one of those holsters that only he can get the gun out?
He's not armed.
If he gets one, is that part of the plan?
We will see that he gets one.
Okay.
Yes,
All right, good.
yes. A retention holster,
Okay, is that,
yes.
I'm not sure the right terminology,
Yep.
thank you. So then I guess the bottom line is that if our insurance isn't going up, he continues to receive training and he's qualified. I guess the only part of the question you didn't answer was, what about backup? There is none.
Chief Harris explains to me that he will always, always give Mr. Eichler backup as soon as he can. It's just that Cornwall Borough area is a big area.
I know.
Getting another officer there to help him and locating him is an issue because of the secluded area of Governor Dick Park.
I apologize to Chairman Bender. Did you folks have a presentation? I thought there was going to be a question, but it ended up going beyond what I was thinking. So did you have anything to present that you wanted to add to what the sheriff has given us?
I don't think so. I think everyone got a letter that I sent to Dave Warner on February 20th.
Yeah.
It'd be the same request.
Okay. Ray, anything?
I have nothing else now.
Okay.
So I think if you're inclined, I think what would be necessary would be simply to authorize, under the provisions of Section 2511 of the county code, authorize the acquisition and issuance of the weapon through the sheriff's office for the ranger of Governor Dick Park.
And the cost of that would come from the park.
I would make a motion that we allow this, provided we get a written opinion for our file from the solicitor. Because when you read that, it doesn't say and, or, I'm not quite sure what the 2152 or.
2511.
Thank you, 2511. When I read it, there's different ways to look at it, depending if it's an and or an or. So if he could give us a written opinion, I think that would also be appropriate for our file.
I'll second the motion, but I think if you're willing to amend it, I'm very comfortable with Mr. Eichler. And if we generalize it, as you indicated, Jamie, to arm the ranger at the park, I would like the motion to include that the ranger, someone in the future, when Mr. Eichler is gone, has the same or the proper training necessary to carry a weapon. So to carte blanche, say the ranger, no offense, but you could designate a ranger and he has had no experience with firearms, so.
I'll accept that amendment.
Okay.
So we can include, it be required that, I'm sorry, Sheriff, what was the act that he's?
Act 235.
Act 235.
Pennsylvania
certified.
Act
Is that-
235,
is that
Lethal
satisfy
Weapons
that?
Training Act.
Okay.
Kathy, are you with us?
Yes,
Okay. All right. So it's been moved and seconded and amended. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so ordered. Thank you.
I have one other thing as a report. You'll recall that in your last batch of Marcellus shale money 2 years ago, you gave us seed money to do design and an application to DCNR for our handicap walkway. And then earlier this year, the commissioners approved that application. We learned 2 weeks ago that DCNR has approved $175,000 to the county for that walkway. You should probably get a grant contract from the state early in the year, and we would be in a position to bid it this summer for work next fall and winter, but an early Christmas present from the state. And thanks again to the county for the seed money out of Marcellus and also for sponsoring the application.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you for all your volunteer time out there and been doing for many years. We appreciate that as well.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Have a nice holiday.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff.
The only other thing I would have to add to the meeting is that there will be a meeting next Thursday